So, say I got stuck in the planets, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Since we didn't get to see the planets, like, what can you tease about? I mean, I'm assuming we're going to see it in season 2. Like, can you tease like what it looks like and so compared to other versions of the planets we've seen?
Yeah, well, we're in the concept design phase of that at the moment. But obviously it'll be a very VFX heavy environment. So we're working with our design team now on putting that all together. We've got a lot of different ideas. It's hard. It's a hard question to answer because it won't really be it's a constantly evolving space. Like it's never one thing. So it'll as soon as you kind of get acclimatized to where you are, it changes again and it becomes something else because it doesn't observe the rules of space and time as we know it. You know, I know it's a bit of a non-answer, but it's a hard thing to describe. And visually, we're still in that design phase.
Well, hopefully this question won't be as hard. What themes will season 2 explore?
Themes, a lot of season 2 will be thematically will be sort of the idea of rebuilding and rebirth. You know, there's in Kryptonian mythology there's the legend of Flamebird and Nightwing, and there's a legend about Flamebird was a god who was charged with burning down the world so that it could be rebuilt anew by Bok the Builder in Kryptonian mythology, and that sort of myth in itself is it's kind of the perfect thematic touchstone for us because there's on a macro level, like the Krypton, you know, needs to be sort of rebirthed in a way. So it needs to be cleansed. It needs to be burnt down so that it can be rebuilt. And it's sort of part of what we're talking about in the show is that rebuilding, in a way, it sort of reflects society today. Like our generation has kind of messed up a lot of things, and sometimes, like it feels like we almost need to step away and let the next generation build the future. You know, and I think sometimes when we don't, that's where we run into trouble. And so that's one of the big things that we'll be exploring. And then on a more sort of micro level, the characters need to rebuild themselves in some ways after the experiences of season 1. So yeah, that's the big one for us.
So how was it working with Cameron, who is very much so into the Superman lore and everything? Did you find yourself kind of like having him help you with like where it might go for them, or?
Yeah, I mean he's unlike anyone I've worked with in that sense because he has such a encyclopedic knowledge and of comics generally, but specifically Superman. So he's like a valuable resource that I get to tap into, which is fantastic. He's much more of a partner in a lot of ways than a cast member. I mean, he's both, but he's much more involved than other actors that I've worked with in the past. Yeah.
How did you go about deciding that Zod would be descended from the elves, and can you tell us more about that process or the plot itself?
Yeah, I think we sort of spoke a lot around this time last year about this show not being a traditional prequel in the way people kind of expected, and that we would be taking some swings, and that we would be that anything can happen, and we'll be going in other directions that would be completely unexpected. And I feel like the time travel element of the show gave us the freedom to do that. And so Zod was, I mean, he's so connected to so many of the other characters, obviously the House of Zod characters. So he was a natural fit for the show, and his goal of saving Krypton and preserving the Kryptonian culture and the civilization made him the right character to bring into the show. But bringing him in, we also wanted to do something a little bit different with it as well. So I just think I love the idea that Superman is part Zod, as well. I feel like that's a cool that's something different. I hadn't seen that before, and again, like that was the promise to the fans when we set out, that we were going to give you something that you hadn't seen before, and so the Zod thing was a key part of that.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have.
Thank you.
Can I get you to elaborate at all about the logo announcement? Anything you can add?
Look, just I mean, I guess the main thing to say is that he's obviously a really broad character in the comics, and we have a pretty grounded tone for our show. So, in a way, it seems an unlikely match, Lobo and our show, and it's almost precisely because of that we're having him. When we've done that in the past in the show, it's worked well for us. So that sort of contrast, I think, will work well for us. I mean, we won't be. He's not going to be riding space dolphins or things like that we've seen in the comics. But we also don't want to introduce Lobo and then not have him be true to the character that has become so popular over the years.
Thank you so much.
All right, no worries.